I'm Shane Albarani. This is Ben Boudreau. We are going through the big 7-game road trip the Komets had in January, breaking down every game. Right now, we're on game number 3. Right now, the Komets are 1-1 on this road trip. Get a win in Indy, lose another heartbreaker in Toledo on a Saturday night. But then Sunday, you go back at it. You get an early start. You don't have time to think about it. So you go back in, and your starting goaltender is going to be Cole Kaler, who had the great game in Indy. Now, here's the intrigue. Billy Christopoulos had been outstanding against the Komets. You've seen Pat Nagel, you've seen Caden Fulcher. So Billy Christopoulos, who has seen a lot of action, he is on the bench. He is going to get a rest that night. And we see Trevor Gorsuch into the walleye lineup. Now, in Toledo, this guy is now becoming some type of a legend, because he is now the 4th goaltender really on the depth chart for Toledo. And now you're thinking, okay, we've got Christopoulos out of the lineup. He has had our number, but it seemed like Billy Christopoulos just morphed into Trevor Gorsuch that day, and again, was just lights out. And this was the only game he played for the Walleye this season.
Yeah, I hate that. It's, sometimes people have games of their lives, and I don't know what his record would have been, but let me tell you, when this guy came in, it was the same feeling. You could not get a puck by one of their goalies, and I didn't care who it was, whether it was Patrick Waugh or we could not score. And I didn't think this was from a lack of effort or from a lack of opportunities, but their goaltending was just through this roof, and they stole them the game. In my opinion, I thought we had completely outplayed these guys, clobbered them with scoring chances and opportunities. But Trevor comes in. And whether that was his capabilities were on the norm, a 4th-string goaltender, you're thinking, okay, maybe there's going to be an easier night a little bit. And he was great against us again, if not better than Billy the night before. So we didn't want to see it, but you're trying to score against a brick wall at this point.
And what makes even the legend of this guy is that he wasn't even playing. He, in 3 games in Toledo, the SPHL, and 1 game in Reading, he was 8-2, 5-1 with the Toledo Walleye, but he hadn't been playing. He just got called up, hadn't been playing regularly, and he's in the lineup, and he does that.
I don't know if this helps our cause for a coach of why we couldn't beat them at this point here, Shane. But, yeah, no, it was, if you think it's frustrating right now, I mean, the emotions that went into this time. I mean, at this point of the season, you're jockeying back and forth for position, 3rd and 4th between Indy, where every single point is crucial. And you're thinking, well, we haven't beaten Toledo yet this season. We got a back-to-back against them before going down to see Florida. And I'm thinking, okay, if we're going to win a game, this was the one. This is the one that we needed to really take advantage of. And okay, we've got their 4th-string goalie. And we were thinking the same thing alike. And to run into this kid playing lights out. I mean, you could imagine how frustrated it is from a coaching position, how frustrating it must have been for the players that were gripping the sticks. And because we all saw it. We were all talking about the same thing. We were trying to preach some patience that it's going to come, it's going to come. It never came. So it was very frustrating to play a team that had such deep dynamic goaltending.
So we start the game up. We got no scoring in the first period, but you guys come out physical, meaning Kyle Haas, the guy who leads the league in penalty minutes at the end of the season as a rookie, gets a 10-minute misconduct for inciting. So for those of you out there, what exactly is an inciting call, Ben?
Well, sometimes, when players play a certain way, you'll gain a reputation. And so the reputation, you can be a goal scorer, you're expected to score. Sometimes Hauser, he didn't have that reputation, but it was more to the physical side. And I think he might have whispered in the guy or grabbed something, but it was pretty innocent. But the refs in this league, you see quite a bit. And when you have a certain reputation, he didn't want to deal with it. He gave him a 10 right off the bat, no minors at this point. He just said, we're not dealing with it. And so I think what our message was been, hey, we got to play our game. We've got to go back to play that physical style. And a guy like Kyle, who does his job to an absolute T, went out there, tried to take his coach's words, and, the ref said, nope, not today. So it was kind of an interesting start to the game. I remember that. We wanted to get under the skin. We wanted to finish all of our hits, and we wanted to play that style. But the ref didn't allow it to be. It was a 3rd game in 3 nights. He didn't want anything chippy. He didn't want to be fighting. He just said, no, we're playing a clean game. And so from a ref standpoint, I thought it was great what they did to control the game. And what our tactics were to try to get them off their game, try to get them to chase us a little bit, and it didn't work at this point.
So you go through the first period scoreless, but you get 17 shots on goal. I mean, again, a great first period, but nothing to show for it.
And how many did they end up with?
11.
Because I think there was one point where they had gotten did they have power plays in the first as well?
Yes.
Because they got the majority of all their shots.
Chances,
so at one point we were like 15-2, 11-1 in shots in the period. And you can, like, grade A scoring chances too. So save. You look up, it's 11-1. And you don't have anything on the board, and it's a frustrating style of game to play, and you got to tip their cap to them. And that's what I said. They're going to wait for their chances, and they were going to make us pay, and they did.
They did. The second period opened up. It was Josh Winquist at 5:56, but Alan Lasarchuk answers also in the second period. So again, it's a tight game. You're tied. You're going into the third period.
Yeah, and you're looking for somebody to break it open. You want somebody to make that one play, and for them, they're in the driver's seat because they've been in this position before. For us, we hadn't beaten them, so there was a little bit more emphasis on trying to get away with a win right there. And so you could tell just by the way things were going, the frustration was building on our side, and they were developing confidence as the game went on because they weren't playing as good as us, but you could see the score stayed the exact same. So they had that confidence that they just needed one opportunity to end the game. And for us, we were throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the net and hoping and praying something went in. And, a good goaltender is going to steal you games. And Trevor came in and he stole him a game.
And again, in the third period, you're tied and you're feeling, hey, if we could score first in this third period, we can get it. But it wasn't to be. It was Kessner again who got the go-ahead goal. But Anthony Petrozelli, fourth goal in 3 games, tied it up in the third period. A.J. Jenks had an assist on that goal. And there's one thing, really missing from last season was A.J. did not get a goal in Toledo.
Yeah, that was... And I remember the last game we played against him, the relief of winning it, not for him, but I mean to win in Toledo. I mean that was a big story, and I felt it for him. Actually, AJ was so revved up to play into Toledo, and I get it. He's been a leader there. He's one of the guys that's been retired. He's up on the board in the left corner if you look for points and games played and everything. I mean, he's been a true walleye forever, and he was so amped up to play. Usually he goes over the edge a bit. He took a couple minors that ended up costing, and this team loved AJ, and we wanted to do it just as bad, not only for our team, but we wanted to do it bad for him as well.
So you're going into overtime. You're going on the 3-on-3, something you've had now 3 out of the last 4 games in this stretch. One with Toledo at home, and then Indy, and now this one. So again, you're going to the 3-on-3. You've got an inexperienced goaltender. You guys are flying. So again, you're feeling confident in going into this overtime. But it was a rough third overtime because you had the rare fight. You had 2 guys who don't normally fight, Shane Birchback and Mason Berg. I think that was Bergie's first pro fight, and Shane Birchback doesn't throw the gloves, so that's what you show the intensity of this game when 2 guys like that are grabbing each other and going at in overtime.
It was great too, because the guys there's this whole road trip was a coming together feeling for everybody, and you see guys like Mason, like they're on an American League contract, but their heart and soul is with the team trying to win. And in overtime, I think it was Birchbach that horse-collared him from behind, and you could just see a switch turn in Mason, said, okay, gloves were off, and then he just knocked him one with a good righty. And to see a skill player do that, a captain at Colorado College, a guy who's power play, PK, everything. I mean, at that moment we were feeling very good about ourselves. We thought that was the turning of the tide, and kudos to Mason because he played such a great game up at that point too, and actually he won the fight too, so that was a good feather in the cap.
So now we're going to a shootout, but we're talking about the Toledo goaltenders, but Cole Kaler again was just awesome in that game. Another back-to-back game where he was just lights out, but again, just one bounce, you don't get it, and that turns out to be the difference.
And we'll show or talk about the one bounce that they had in the shootout, but then even I think there's 5 seconds to go, and Sid had the puck on the stick right in the slot, and he makes a miraculous save, the goalie, and so you can just see Sid's reaction, like he looks to the heavens and says, what do we have to do? And that was how, like, we were pressing and pressing and pressing, and we were doing everything we could to win. We just could not get it by the goalie, and so the frustration at this point was mounting. We hadn't beat them. We can't beat their goaltenders, and we were doing everything we possibly could. It wasn't working for us up at this time, and we get into a skills competition where we know anybody can win this thing. everything. And so we felt pretty confident with Cole playing the way he was and the way our entire team was going.
So you go into the shootout, you've got that sinking feeling now. What do we got to do to beat these guys, but you still have a chance? And you throw out Sean Sadlowski, Brady Shaw, and Alan Lasarchik, two guys who can score. And certainly Sean Sadlowski has played in a lot of shootouts, but of course it shuts the door. 0 for 3.
0 for 3. I mean, I think the first round was 0-0. And the second round, I think Lasarchuk went second for us.
No, Shaw went second.
Shaw went second. I think he hit the crossbar, the same move that he had in Indy, and rang it off the crossbar. And they came down, and the guy fans on his shot, I remember. And so you want to talk about luck, trying to beat a goalie. He comes down, and it's bad ice, and the guy throws a fluky one over the shoulder. And, of course, that's the way it was feeling. Of course, they get that break. We didn't get that lucky break in playing them. We didn't get that one off the skate or whatever it was. And so once they scored that goal, we knew that we were going to be in tough with Allen going in there. And, it was a sinking feeling once they got that one and Allen didn't score the goal. I mean, you just left feeling we could have done everything we could have done. We had a great game plan. The guys gave everything they possibly could have, and we came up short. And so from a coaching standpoint, you're not happy you lost the game, but you're proud of what the players put out on the ice at that moment in time.
So a 3-2 loss, shootout loss, another loss to Toledo, but you do get a point. So things are getting tight in the Central Division at this point. So you're done with Toledo, you get a couple days off, and you get to fly down to Florida, which... this is where problems start. So,
but at this point, you're thinking sunshine. It's the beginning of February. You flip at 365. We were in Newfoundland in February the following year. Now we've got the sunshine. Surely this is a time to come together, win some games, and feel good about ourselves heading back to Fort Wayne.
All right, we'll leave it there. We're going to close this episode out, and we are going to go to Florida on the next episode of Outside the Jungle. And who do we see but Cody Soul? And he's going to play into the story.
So if anybody was watching, because the refs obviously weren't, frustrating's mounting at this point. We had just lost 2 games. The travel was long. We weren't getting the calls going. Now we're losing another game and going into the third trying to play catch-up.